Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Your Little Castle show. We do end up with some pretty high profile, I'm going to embarrass John a little bit here, but I knew you had a number of accolades, and I said, you got to tell me more about the background. And I started researching and looking, I'm like, holy cow, you've done some incredible stuff.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I don't know. Sometimes I look back at my life and I wonder, what have I ever done? Do you ever have a, it's your life moment, I guess. So, but I have been blessed, so.
Well, we appreciate you coming into the studio again. We are live here in the Your Little Castle studio. I always give a shout out to some of our sponsors, and first and foremost, Carroll House Furniture. You can see Brooke there on the wall with, he's been in this studio. He's been in our other studio too. Brooke's been on the show a few times, on a couple of our shows. And then obviously his sister there, Amy. And who else can you get better furniture from in the St. Louis area than Carroll House Furniture? And then of course, we always have to give a shout out to our sponsor on this show, USA Mortgage. And my buddy Steve Flowers, the Flowers team. Can you see that there? There it is. You can see the Flowers team right behind me. Steve Flowers, Emily. They're a married couple that does an incredible job, and it's just great working with them. I actually have my mortgage license, and so part of what we all got going on here, trying to help people get into a home, right?
Yeah, quick story about USA Mortgage. I am doing some podcasts with my global real estate school now with USA Mortgage. And a number of years ago, Carter, I was at a meeting and there was an agent there. This was back in 2000, right after the downturn of the economy. But there was a mortgage officer there from USA Mortgage who was really trying to help homeowners, buyers, understand how they could get back into owning a home. This was after a lot of people were renting, they weren't able to purchase a home. But it always impressed me how USA Mortgage had such a heart to help homeowners get back into the game. And I just remember that presentation the loan officer did, and I thought, man, that company has a great culture, and I really appreciated USA Mortgage and just their compassion to help people become homeowners again.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, because I've actually been in the industry for many, many years, and what we end up discussing with people always is how to get the best loan, the best company. I've done the marketing for a number of mortgage companies, and gone through the process and got to know these guys. Until I got to USA Mortgage, I didn't realize how thorough, deep training, everything they've got. They really cover it all.
They really do, and they're just a friend to the real estate community with all of the additional resources they do. But I just was, as I mentioned, I was so impressed because he was presenting and helping consumers at that workshop who he knew they probably wouldn't be able to purchase a home for maybe a year or so, but you know what? He wanted to help people and give back, and I thought, okay, USA Mortgage, it's a good company, and I've always appreciated and remembered that.
Yeah, and they like I said, they've done great work from what I've seen in the community, and they just literally have every resource out there. They've got their in-house printing they can do right there. I've been on a tour for it. So anytime they help the real estate agents get printing materials for what they need, so that these agents can get it, because people need something in their hand.
Which helps the homeowners and the consumer.
And they just really have it together. So John, let's talk a little bit about your background. I mean, with regard to being somebody who is just a complete, again, I'm not trying to embarrass John here, but to be a complete guru. I mean, literally, I have to look up what the definition of somebody. Hey, okay, Google, what is definition of guru? But somebody who literally knows everything that you can imagine, top to bottom, and has expertise and awards and accomplishments and international. Wow, it's just, I mean, is that? I'm kind of stunned by that. How does that end up being something with regard to your expertise?
Yeah, well, thank you again. And you know, at the end of the day, I feel like I'm just a normal real estate broker that's out there. But I did actually I got my license in 1978 at the age of 18. I started putting signs up and taking pictures of properties for my mom, and that's back when we literally did use a Polaroid camera, and we shook it like a Polaroid picture. But I would take pictures for my mom and put the signs up, and in 1978 she said, hey, they just changed the law. You only have to be 18 years old to get your real estate license. So I went and got my license, and here I am 44 years later, and now the viewers at home can calculate how old I am, but it's all I've ever done, and I just love real estate.
Well, the expertise, like we talked about, and we want people to understand, you talked a little bit about the path. I mean, to go further, if you would, a little bit the path that led you to where you are now. I mean, it's a matter of being a broker, an educator, an ambassador. There's a lot that goes into accomplishing all of that. Tell us, how did you get there? Tell a little bit more after your mom informed you that you started when you were 18. What happened after that?
So it's kind of interesting. I took over my mom's company in the 1980s, and we went from one office and about 15 agents to 3 offices and somewhere around the 40 agent, 50 agent mark. And really enjoyed being a broker, but I kind of got to that point where it was more of the management side, and I wasn't listing and selling real estate like I had normally always done. And so in the 2006, I actually sold my real estate company. Now, prior to that, I was running a live real estate school on the side to help recruit agents and also running my real estate company. But I sold my office in 06 to go to work for a bank. And as most people might know, in 07, 08, the economy kind of took a crash, and a lot of things just ended up in the perfect storm then. And so not only did I sell my company and signed a non-compete clause, but I actually bought a pick-your-own blueberry blackberry farm, built our dream home, and went to work for a bank. Well, during that period of about 8 months, Carter, we had a late spring freeze, lost our entire crop. We had built a new home. We were $1 million in debt, and the bank I went to work for could not expand because the economy was tanking at that time. So literally ended up unemployed with a non-compete clause and no crop, and I'm $1 million in debt. So it's like, you know, I jokingly say I kind of did what Steve Martin would say, "Hey kids, we're having fun now." So anyway,
are we having fun now?
But from that point, I had a couple of choices to make, and one was, would I just have a pity party and give up, or would I get back up and just, try to move forward? And that's what my wife and I did. And we just, we sold the farm. We sold really about everything we had. But what's interesting through that whole process is when we sold the farm, we ended up, I jokingly always say this, we ended up in a 2-bedroom apartment in L.A., Lower Arnold, Missouri.
Did you? Okay. Not far from LA.
And so I'm speaking, training, I'm selling real estate, doing whatever I can to make a living. And I'm speaking in California at a conference, talking about technology for real estate brokers. And Carter, the whole room just looked at me like I had lost my mind, and I felt like a comedian who was telling jokes and no one was laughing. And so it was at that conference when I finally finished speaking, and there were 2 people that were over on the side, and I noticed that they kept looking at me the whole time. So when I finished the presentation, people got in line and they wanted to talk to me, and I thought to myself, gosh, I thought they hated me. And here was these first 2 people in line, and they were from France, and they asked me if I would come to France to speak. And so
that's one of my notes. How did you get this connection in France?
So that started the whole process. And I spoke in France. My wife and I left St. Louis International Airport with $135 in our account. That's all we had. I mean, we literally were going through some rough challenges. But I went there and spoke. The people loved me, and he and I became very good friends, and he invited me to come and live in France. And so I ended up helping him in his real estate office. And that led me to speaking into 25 other countries over the next 10 years, just through that one connection. So I tell you that not to brag. I don't want the audience to think I'm bragging in any way, but I just want people to know that sometimes you do get down and defeated, but there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And don't give up and don't get discouraged. You just have to keep moving forward. And so through all of that, I look back now and I think, gosh, I'd never change my life and what has happened.
Well, great story, and that's literally what it is that we try to denote for our listeners, because many people do know, and you start talking about the pump me up stuff. That's why I had to.
Yeah.
I was off camera there for a second, ladies and gentlemen. That's where I get out the Cardinal Cowboy hat, because the message that I try to pervade with this is that life is full of difficulties and hurdles, and we're all going to have things that we have to overcome. And the bottom line is, are you going to overcome these things? Or like you said, are you going to have a pity party?
Right.
And so it seems like, I mean, I wonder, given those obstacles, that's another thing we always ask. I've got a note here. Talk about an obstacle that you've had to overcome. And you already talked about that. But do you feel as though that made you stronger? That's what might have elevated you to where you said, wow, I figured out I can do this. Now what else can I do? And become the president of the association and start my own company and teach.
Yeah,
so talk about that if you would.
It definitely has. And I think the one thing it has encouraged me is sometimes you look back and you think, why did this happen to me? And I tell that story, and I'll be honest with you, I told the story here to your group and your audience, and it's like, do I really want to tell that story over and over? But I was telling the story to a group in Florida, and I remember a lady coming up to me, grabbing me by my hands and looking me in the face, and she said, thank you, I needed to hear that story. And Carter, she proceeded to tell me some of the things that had happened in her life, and I'm sitting there hearing her tell me that she needed to hear my story, yet I hadn't lost a child, and I hadn't had some of the other things happen that she had happen in her life. I'm thinking, I just lost some stuff. But it was at that moment that I knew I needed to keep telling that story. So I've told that story in Egypt, I've told that story in Mexico, and I always have people come up to me and say, I needed to hear that. I'm going through some tough times. And so I guess, looking back, it's kind of an obstacle that has allowed me to hopefully help other people get over obstacles. And hopefully somebody's watching tonight that can come over that obstacle.
Well, that's what life is. Yes, at my age, a lot of people may guess I just turned the big 50. I mean, people tell me I'm in my 30s. I'll take that. They don't see a lot of the gray going on off here, but as you begin to reflect, the career has been going on for 20, 25 years now, 30 years, and it gets to where what really matters.
Exactly.
What really makes a difference? All the money in the world. I know some very wealthy people. And I happen to know some stories of some very wealthy. Not that I know the particular stories of all the wealthy people, but some of them you've heard about.
Right.
And you end up finding out that all the money in the world made their life more difficult often. And so that's not the key. The key is, how do you actually impact and make a difference in somebody's life? And that's where I throw it back at you to say, you've got a number of things going on that really get all real estate related. And if we can talk a little bit about that, I'm going to put up on the wall behind us here. I'll take off the titles we've got there, but everybody take a look at this wall, if you will, behind us. That's our TV wall. The Global Real Estate School. Talk about how you really get to help people there. I mean, that's literally.
It's an interesting story. I'm a technology speaker and trainer, and I love technology. And I'd been creating some programs for some other organizations. And my wife was saying, gosh, you do such a great job. You should put your real estate school online. And I said, I don't know if I want to do that. I taught live real estate for years. And so I kept sending people to pre-licensed online schools, and nobody would ever finish. And I remember a friend of mine, Henry, I don't know if you're watching or not, Henry, but Henry would know who he is, a great guy. And I remember he went to school, and I ran into Henry at the grocery store, and I said, hey, how's school going? And he's like, oh, I couldn't take it. It was too painful. And a lot of schools, and I do in no way want to downgrade my competition, but a lot of people have a vision of an online school that I'll just put some words on a PowerPoint and put it online, and you can read it and click a mouse. I wanted to do something a little different than that. And so when I left the grocery store that day after I talked to Henry, I looked in the rearview mirror. I never will forget that. And I said, John Mayfield, you're going to put your real estate school online. And I went home, dug around in an old box in my basement, found a hard drive.
Now, this is a little while ago. What year was this?
2017.
Okay.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
Found my material, and I started working to put it online. And we launched it actually in 2017. That was the summer of 2016. But the school's just taken off. People love it. But I have audio, I have video, we do live streaming. I give you audio feedback if you miss a question. So it's a totally different online experience. And so people liked the product, and we thought, hey, it's like a restaurant. We must have good food. Let's take it to some other states. So my daughter and son-in-law helped me, and we now offer it in 9 different states.
Well, that's impressive for that kind of growth to go to so many states. I'm going to put up on the screen for everybody to see as I take down some of the graphics here. But look up on the wall, everybody. We have John's website. Now, we're not on camera anymore at this point, John, but tell everybody, describe a little bit what they're looking like on your website here.
Yeah, so you're at globalrealestateschool.com. You can see we're in Hawaii, Indiana, Kansas, Missouri, Virginia, South Dakota, Oklahoma. We also offer courses in Utah and Florida. I have test prep for all 50 states. We offer continuing education and just lots of other opportunities. I also do some coaching and training for agents. So I'm having a blast, and I wouldn't want to go back and do anything differently. I tell you my trials and tribulations, but I've been really blessed, as I mentioned. And so now I'm just having the time of my life, and get to do a lot of what you do kind of with the TV studio, except I'm trying to tell people how to figure a math problem, how to figure discount points on a loan. So,
well, there's so much to learn in the real estate world, and as somebody who has passed the test, who has a mortgage license, they say that the test just kind of gets you prepped for what you're about to deal with. And then once you get out there, then you really start to learn what it's like to actually be a mortgage person, because you're going to be dealing with situations and particulars with regard to somebody's credit, or something that needs to be fixed at the house, or a difference in appraisal value. I mean, when you really get into all that you need to know out in the field, 40 years of experience, I guess, is going to help you help your students, I guess.
Right, exactly. And so I try to give that back to them and help them. We've got a program called 5 Minutes to Jumpstarting Your Real Estate Career. It's from a book that I had written, and I put it into an online course format that you can take at your own pace. But I really try to teach agents about business planning. A lot of agents, unfortunately, get in the real estate business and they don't realize they need to develop a business plan, and they need to understand what's my break-even point. So I walk them through that, walk them through online marketing and other types of ways that they can grow their business. Because it really, I think today, multiple streams of income are so important for people. And there are, real estate, when I started this 40 years ago, Carter, you had to go meet people at the office to write a contract, or you had to go to their home.
Right.
Today, there's electronic signatures, there's forms. I mean, most of the work I do is right from my house on my computer through a Zoom meeting, and I can have the flexibility to do a lot of other things.
Yeah, the market has dramatically changed as a matter of technology, and somebody who's a bit of a technology. The studio John is in today is a studio that I built myself,
right,
with a technology background. But the idea that was to make it efficient, make it very streamlined, and to keep the cost down.
Exactly.
And that's really what we're finding most all of this technology is geared towards, because it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of gas to drive and to meet. And so this has literally changed the way business is done. And what we've gone through in the last couple of years here has really helped us to realize and focus on, hey, there are better ways, and we can push the envelope a little bit. I remember, because
technology's come a long way, and especially for real estate, financing, just so many ways that it's helped, I think, our business.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier, a lot more efficient. Now there's less struggle with regard to transferring files and documents and papers, and everything can be done electronically. And you can look, I know a lot of realtors, they do it right there on their phone, right? They're like, oh, I see it, let me forward that. Can I do the DocuSign right here? And it just has greatly improved things. There's a lot more complexity to it if you're not technology based. We had a guest realtor in recently, I won't name her name because now but she's like, how do I upload the file? It was a video, it was different. It was not the stuff she'd been used to. And I walked her through, because she got a copy of the videos, and we give you clips from that. And so we'll give you some clips too. But take those clips and put them out there to share people with what it is you've learned, and what it is that makes you stand out. And John, we got to go back to some of the accomplishments here. I made some notes here, did some research. Like I said, you've spoken in 25 countries, not counties, countries. So I want to make sure everybody understands that. What's it like to travel the world and speak?
Yeah.
I could imagine 4 or 5 countries. Okay, 25. Where are you going? You're going everywhere.
Yeah. So I've been very blessed to have had that opportunity. But I have spoken in India, the Philippines, of course, France, Bulgaria, Greece, Finland, Poland. So it's just that one France episode I was able to speak at actually helped me be able to go and speak in several, and it just led, it was like a snowball and just went from one to another.
Well, that's something we also talk about with regard to getting your name out there, showing up, doing the job. It's that first opportunity you take that might be the most difficult, stressful, uneasy, but then you're out there and now you've got just that much more experience that exposes you to a lot of other places where you might be able to get more experience and gain more.
Right, and speaking, I mean, my expertise is technology, and so in other parts of the world, real estate agents want to know, how can I use technology for social media? How can I use technology in my business? And so I tried to, I've just been fortunate, I guess, that my topic is timely in so many parts of the world.
Yeah, well, again, we could go on hours and hours about technology. Taking it back to the old school, if you will, and now it's not that books are extinct from the perspective that, like, people still, but you've written 9 books about real estate.
So
I've got one kind of under my belt that we're about to publish, but what is it like to write 9 books?
Well, I love to write, and in school, my teacher, I mean, I wasn't a very verbs and nouns and all of that has never been my thing, but I have a creative mind and put it on paper, and there are grammatical programs out there that will help you doctor it up. I use a program now called Grammarly I love, but
I've heard of it.
And then there are good friends who will take a look at it as well. But you know, I was at my daughter's Christmas party years ago, and I remember sitting there, Carter, and I was thinking about my sales meeting the next day. And then all of a sudden I said, John Mayfield, what are you doing? You're supposed to be enjoying your daughter's holiday party, and you're here thinking about a sales meeting. And so I thought, wouldn't it be neat to write a book for sales meetings? And so I came up with the idea, 5 minutes to a great real estate sales meeting. And I was at a conference and I pitched it to a book publisher there. They loved it. I sent a proposal. They loved it, and I published the book. Well, they liked the title 5 Minutes so well that they said, why don't you write a book on 5 Minutes to a Great Real Estate Letter? And then I wrote one on 5 Minutes to a Great Real Estate Ad and marketing and technology, and we came back to another letters book. And so all of a sudden I just, you know, had a whole series of books there. And but yeah, I love to write, and you know, if you like to write, just a little tip for our guest, if you like to, our viewers I should say, if you like to write, the key is write about something that you know and you're familiar with. And so I was always writing books about stuff that really wasn't my wheelhouse. And when I read that in a writing magazine, when I read that, I thought, okay, I need to write about real estate. That's what I know, and that's what I'm good at, and that's when I had success as an author.
Well, to be an author, and especially to be an author who has written 9 books, means you've got expertise beyond the average human. So it's just neat to have somebody take the time to share this kind of knowledge with people, because there's, I have particular respect for teachers, being that both my whole family is education and teachers. Dad, college admissions counselor, mother taught John Goodman. We got the picture of John. Yeah, there he is up there. When he came to Afton to name the theater after my mom. But I literally just have so much respect, because, and I also argue that it makes for such a happy life when you've helped other people by giving them information, by giving them power to control their and determine their own future. And I think that's just a tremendous gift that you can give somebody, and for you to spend most of your life in that realm helping people. Wow, John, you've really kind of gone out of your way, and it's just neat to have somebody like that who would come in and spend so much time with us here in our
Thank
studio.
you. I appreciate that.
A couple more things I'd actually want to talk about here, because we're about to run out of time. We've got a couple minutes left here, but I have to mention some more notes. You've got 2 national awards you've received, or designations. The REBI Broker Hall of Fame, which is a national award.
Right.
And tell everybody what REBI stands for.
That is the Real Estate Business Institute, and they give an annual award to what they call their Hall of Fame. It's for their Brokers Hall of Fame. And so I was privileged to receive that right before COVID in San Francisco at the National Association of Realtors Conference. And it was a real honor, and I was thrilled and caught off guard. But they gave me that award, and then in 2014 or 15, it's not really a national, but it's a state award. The Missouri Realtors gave me the Richard Mendenhall Award, which is a very coveted award. He's a past NAR president, a great guy from Columbia, Missouri, and just wonderful person. So that was just a huge honor for me to receive that.
Well, I mean, somebody that's been so well accoladed, renowned, that has such expertise and background. I mean, not to make it, but somebody to pay attention to, everybody. John Mayfield has been doing this now for over 40 years, I would assume, based on, if I'm going
44, yeah. 44.
What we were talking about earlier. 44 years, and most people at that point, but I guess because you started so young.
Yeah.
And you just really enjoy what you're doing.
I really do. And I'm honored this year. I'm president for Missouri Association of Realtors. We're the largest trade organization in Missouri. We have 25,000 members. And so I think I have 3 months left. Not that I'm counting the days down, but it's been kind of a challenging year because we had to hire a new CEO, and it's just you carry the weight of the association as president on your shoulders, but we've accomplished some great things. We actually, as the Missouri Realtors, we helped get legislation passed this year that removes discriminatory language in deeds. A lot of people don't realize, but in many parts of the state, there are some deeds that have some discriminatory language remarks on the deeds. That's no longer allowed under the fair housing, but as Missouri Realtors, we helped pass legislation so that now all of those derogatory remarks will be removed from deeds across Missouri. So that's a pretty cool thing and I'm very honored that we were able to get that done in my year.
Well, again, everybody, give it up for John Mayfield. If you're going to meet an expert in the industry, you're not going to find anybody who knows much more about real estate and what it takes to become a successful realtor than Mr. Mayfield. So, John, we appreciate you taking the time to visit us here in our little studio.
Thank you, Carter, and love for anybody watching. If you have an interest in getting your real estate license, so go to globalrealestateschool.com.
globalrealestateschool.com. There you can see it on the screen. Stay tuned for more, everybody, because we got a lot more to come to bring to you. But pay attention to John Mayfield and get yourself involved with real estate. It is a dynamite field because there's lots of money to be made there, so you can support your family and do what's good for your family.
Absolutely. And more than anything, you can become an investor, and that's a huge part of knowing and going through the real estate course. You said it best there. All right, everybody, we appreciate you. Stay tuned for more. This is the Your Little Castle.